Portugal has finally stepped onto the stage of world diplomacy with a decision that will be remembered in history. The Atlantic nation officially declared its intention to recognize Palestine as a sovereign state, a move laden with meaning and rich in political symbolism. This declaration places Portugal alongside other Western powers such as Australia, Canada, France, and the United Kingdom, which have already signaled their readiness to recognize Palestinian statehood. For the Portuguese people, this is not merely a political decision but a new chapter in the moral stance of the nation. On Friday, September 19, 2025, Portugal's Ministry of Foreign Affairs released an official statement on the government's website. It clearly stated that the recognition of the State of Palestine would be formally announced on Sunday, September 21, 2025. The announcement is scheduled to take place just one day before the high-level conference on Palestinian statehood at the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA. The timing is seen as strategic, ensuring that Portugal arrives at the global forum with a clear and consistent stance. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirms that Portugal will recognize the State of Palestine, the statement read. A brief sentence, yet one carrying considerable political weight. Furthermore, the government stressed that this recognition did not emerge from sudden pressure but from long and careful consideration. Portugal described the step as consistent with principles of justice, human rights, and support for a fair peace in the Middle East. Government sources added, the official declaration of recognition will take place on Sunday, September 21, ahead of next week's high-level conference. The emphasis on timing is viewed as a strong signal that Portugal does not wish to be late in the course of history. This decision went through multiple stages of internal discussion. According to the daily Correio da Manhã, Prime Minister Luís Montenegro, from the center-right bloc, held consultations with the president and parliamentary leaders before making the final call. Montenegro reportedly stressed that the issue of Palestine was not about narrow ideology but about Portugal's credibility in upholding the universal values it has long championed on the global stage. For some observers, Montenegro's move is bold. The debate over Palestine's recognition in Portugal's parliament has lasted for more than a decade without a final conclusion. Since 2011, when the left bloc first submitted the proposal to recognize Palestine, the issue has sparked lengthy debates. Yet for years, no political consensus strong enough to push it through ever materialized. Now, with Montenegro's political courage, the door of history has finally opened. Portugal's parliament, long divided on the issue, appeared to symbolically rally behind the government's decision. On the streets of Lisbon, the news drew mixed reactions. Some citizens welcomed it with applause, saying Portugal had finally taken the side of global justice. On the other hand, there were concerns that this move could affect Portugal's diplomatic ties with key allies, including the United States and Israel. Nevertheless, the government emphasized that this decision was not intended to sever ties with anyone. Portugal declared it remained open to communication with all parties, while reaffirming its support for the two-state solution. Analysts said that Portugal's recognition would add moral pressure on other European countries still hesitant to take a stance. The phrase, "course of history," resurfaced in public debate. Many saw Portugal as unwilling to remain a spectator but determined to leave its mark on the long journey toward Middle East peace. The move also reinforced Portugal's reputation as a country that often takes progressive positions on the global stage. Previously, it had been active in pushing environmental issues and humanitarian solidarity. Now, the Palestinian question has become its focus. Internationally, Portugal's decision is seen as a moral boost for the Palestinian people, who have struggled for decades to gain recognition of their state. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas was reported to have warmly welcomed Portugal's move. He said such support brought new hope to his people. Meanwhile, Israel is expected to respond with objections, as recognition of this kind is seen as undermining its position in negotiations. Even so, diplomatic sources believe Portugal is prepared to bear any consequences. For Lisbon, principles outweigh vague compromises. For the Portuguese people, this decision is not just about Palestine. It is also about consistency with the values they hold dear: solidarity, justice, and peace. Universities in Lisbon and Porto began hosting open discussions on the significance of the government's step. Students took to the streets carrying banners reading, "Portugal stands for Palestine." Religious leaders in Portugal also responded positively. They said support for Palestine was part of universal moral teachings. European media outlets gave the move major coverage. Several international newspapers wrote that Portugal had brought a new dimension to Europe's diplomatic map. Analysts even argued that the decision could trigger a domino effect in southern Europe. Spain, Italy, and Greece were said to be considering following the same path. If that happens, the balance of Europe's stance on the Palestine-Israel conflict could shift significantly. Behind the euphoria, however, lies a daunting challenge. Formal recognition is only the first step. What matters more is ensuring the peace process moves forward beyond mere declarations. Portugal pledged to play an active role in international forums, committing to support diplomatic processes that could bring the two-state solution to life. Many believe the decision is not just a gift to Palestine but also a test for Portugal itself, how consistently it can uphold this stance over the long term. Here lies the true value of the recognition, not just a declaration, but a long-term commitment to building a path toward peace. Portugal's decision to recognize Palestine cannot be separated from the increasingly complex global political dynamics. Amid heavy geopolitical pressure, this move reminds the world that there are still countries willing to uphold moral principles above pragmatic interests. The recognition is symbolic, yet it is a symbol of deep significance. It reminds us that the Palestinian issue is not only about land and borders but also about human dignity and the fundamental right to live in freedom. Portugal, despite its limited influence on the global stage, has shown that even a small voice can shake large narratives. It chose to stand on the side of history believed to be just in the end. Of course, the road to peace remains long and fraught with challenges. But recognition such as this is like a small light capable of igniting other flames around the world. In the end, history is not written only by great powers. Sometimes, a brave step from a modest nation can change the direction of the world's journey. And this time, Portugal has chosen to write that important chapter alongside the Palestinian people.